Here we are for the round of the 70s versus the 90s, and it's men on a mission in World War II when I put John Sturges' The Eagle Has Landed against Steven Spielberg's Saving Private Ryan. And man, this was one intense ride because I mean, both of these films are, you know, good in their own regard, and they also have a few things that leave a lot to be desired. So let's just the whole point of this. Let's just dive right on in to the nitty and the picky. First up, we have John Sturges' The Eagle Has Landed. Now, this was the last film that John Sturges directed, and of course, John Sturges was a director that was very well known for his action movies, whether it be, and most specifically, westerns and war films, you know, because he did two of the most iconic, one of the most iconic westerns and one of the, maybe the most iconic war films in the 60s. Of course, he did The Magnificent Seven, which was pretty much a practice ground for his next one, The Great Escape. And of course, The Great Escape is one of the greatest World War II movies ever made. So it is kind of symbolic that the last movie that John Sturges makes is a World War II picture. And the film is simply about the Nazis trying to kidnap Winston Churchill near the end of World War II. And the film stars Michael Caine, Donald Sutherland, and Robert Duvall playing a one-eyed Nazi. And now, usually with stuff like this, you know, where it's got a multicultural national cast, whatever the fuck you want to call it, it tends to get a little hit and miss with the accents. And of course, the worst one is Donald Sutherland with his Donald Sutherland is supposed to be Irish in the film, and that accent breaks so many times it's almost, you could almost make a drinking game out of it to get, you'd be trashed if you took a drink every time Sutherland broke his accent. And of course, with Michael Caine's character, because of course he's playing a German, but he sounds as British as Michael Caine always sounds, they at least write that into the story where he grew up in London and was educated there. So that covers that up. So you can forgive that. Now, to Robert Duvall's credit, he's actually nailing the German accent. So you got to give him that. And of course, the other cat, you got Donald Pleasance playing Himmler, which is absolutely brilliant. That scene with him and Robert Duvall is pure gold. And of course, honestly, if I'm saying the best one in this movie, it's got to be Larry Hagman. That dude is fucking great in this. Like, hands down the best performance. And of course, it's always a fucking romance thrown in there with Donald Sutherland and Jenny Aguter's character strike up a romance. But the film is pretty solid. You know, it's not bad, especially for a last film for a director that specialized in these types of movies. And the ending is great, you know, because it's like Michael Caine thinks he kills Winston Churchill. They mow him down with fucking machine gun fire, and then all of a sudden it's revealed that, oh no, that wasn't Winston Churchill. That was a fucking double. And you know, Winston Churchill's in fucking Tehran with Roosevelt and Stalin. They're playing peace talks and shit, you know. So, or whatever, if I forget exactly what they say. But, you know, like I said, the action's, you know, pretty solid for, you know, a John Sturges film. But, you know, there's a few, it's mainly the performances. The performances are kind of mid, you know, like I'd say half of the performances are good. The other half are just people there that can hit their mark and get the job done, you know. And then we look at Steven Spielberg's Saving Private Ryan, which is another one that I have a complaint with, because what irks me the most about Saving Private Ryan is the very beginning and the very end, where we see the titular character, Private Ryan, as an old man, and he's at the cemetery where all the people died from D-Day or where, and probably just World War II in general. I forget what that cemetery is called, but that is probably my only complaint with this movie, because it's a complaint I have with a lot of Spielberg's movies, is that they're too fucking preachy. It's like, bro, You're Spielberg. You can already manipulate us with your moving images. Do not try to talk it to death. Let the images speak for themselves because they're fucking gold. Because that fucking right after, once it goes into the fucking war shit, that if it had opened with D-Day, that would have been a perfect movie. Because I don't think there is anybody that has ever done a war picture quite like Saving Private Ryan. Now, Sam Fuller said there's no way that you can show war on the screen because it's a fucking mess. Like there's an arm here, there's a cock there, it's just a fucking it's bloody disgusting. War is hell. There's nothing glamorous about it. Now, Peckinpah came close with Cross of Iron. That's a previous matchup I've done, Cross of Iron versus Enemy of the Gates and Enemy at the Gates. And he came very close to showing the horrors of war. But Spielberg put you in that motherfucker. It's like you're there with these men in D-Day and you see the brilliance of Spielberg's filmmaking prowess. John Sturges on his best day cannot even hold a flickering birthday candle to the prowess that is Spielberg. And on top of the insane action, the execution of this movie, the acting is fucking brilliant. I think this is one of Tom Hanks's best performances. There's the whole plot of this movie is, of course, it opens with D-Day, and one of the three of the Ryan brothers have died in battle, and there's one more brother left, and George Marshall, the general chief of staff or whatever the fuck his title was, decides, well, we're gonna bring this last one home. We've already got to send 3 folded flags to this mother. We might as well bring her only son home. And so now Tom Hanks and his men are tasked with finding Private Ryan and bringing him home. And now they once they've secured the beach at Normandy, now they've got to fucking go into the shit of it, Nazi occupied France and stuff. And these men go through hell. As they started out, they went through a whole other hell getting there, and then coming through. This is like one of the best, if not the best, men on a mission movie in World War II. Because of course you got the ones that came out. They've been making these kind of movies since the fucking late 40s, and none of them has ever really captured the intensity of war that this one has. And maybe with the exception of the Big Red One, now that I think about it, I probably should have put the Big Red One against Saving Private Ryan, and that it might have been more of a competition. But who knows? There's always other matchups and shit. But I felt that Eagle Has Landed was more close to, basically just an insane mission, because it is that whole, the beginning and the end of Saving Private Ryan. You've got the elderly Ryan questioning, was it all worth it? Has he led a good life? Was it me? Did he earn it the way Tom Hanks tells him to right before he dies at the end of the movie? And that's the only complaint I have with this movie, because it's like, let us decide. Not only have they been debating it the whole fucking movie, because of course the acting, there's a bevy of brilliant fucking actors. Like I said, Tom Hanks gives one of his greatest performances. Tom Sizemore is absolutely brilliant. Edward Burns, Jeremy Davies, Giovanni Ribisi, Barry Pepper is extraordinary as that sniper. Even Vin Diesel is given a decent performance, and usually that dude only gives a good performance when he's voice acting. And on top of shit, Paul Giamatti pops up in this film, and Ted Danson, even Nathan Fillion has a small part as like his name's also James Ryan. He just has a different middle name, and there's a little misunderstanding there. But of course, the titular character, Private Ryan, is played by none other than Matt Damon. And, he's absolutely brilliant in it too. Like I said, there's not a bad performance in this film, and the dialogue is great. Sometimes it gets a little mushy and sentimental, but there are some badass fucking moments in this movie. There's a lot of like harsh moments, more than a few harsh moments, because the battle sequence, especially the D-Day sequence, and then that battle sequence at the end is just, he the closest you can get to showing war on the screen. Spielberg gets it. The only other director that can give Spielberg a run for his money is Christopher Nolan. So, as much as I want to talk shit about Saving Private Ryan, I can't. So that's why, like, honestly, I would say that this is another round where I would consider it a draw, but the spirit of the 70s versus 90s, somebody's got to win around. There ain't no participation trophies in this shit. I got to know hard facts and shit. So I got to give it to Saving Private Ryan because, one, Spielberg's the better director. Like I said, the only motherfucker that can even top Spielberg is Christopher Nolan. And even his war epic, Dunkirk, can't even fucking come close. Like I said, nobody before him and nobody after him has ever like really got the intensity. Maybe the two Sams, Peck and Pond Fuller, mainly because those motherfuckers were actually in war, World War II to be exact. But Spielberg, as a technician, as a technical filmmaker, and as somebody that knows how to really just make fucking films, you can't fuck with him. Two, the acting is way better. Like I said, there are a couple of great performances in The Eagle Has Landed, but most of them are mid as fuck. Especially Sutherland with that fucking shitty Irish accent. It makes you want to punch him in his dumb face. Rest in peace. Him and Robert Duvall, we lost. And, just brilliant actors. But then, like I said, the complaints that I have for both movies, I think Saving Private Ryan overcomes it because the core of the movie is it doesn't miss a beat. It's fucking perfect. Like I said, if we didn't have those bookends at the beginning and the end, perfect fucking movie. But good enough for it to win this round because you know what? It's just a great fucking movie. Every time I watch it, it's like, this movie fucking sucks. And I put it on and I'm like, you're a fucking idiot. This is a great movie. So, for anybody keeping score, that is 97-80. 70s are only up by 17 now, man. Them 90s keep coming back with them 1-2 punches. I mean, my money's still on the 70s, but them 90s, man, they keep coming back here and there. That lead is still considerable, but who knows? Maybe they can come back. We'll see. And if I've said anything wrong, anything you disagree with, feel free to eviscerate me in the comments. I mean, this is just one asshole's opinion on a very long, self-indulgent journey to see which decade was better for movies, the 70s or the 90s. And I'm still saying the 70s, but the 90s keep coming back and surprising me every now and then, and it's, may ask yourself, is this all worth it? I don't fucking know. I'm just having fun with it, but one thing about it is, it's definitely worth it to fucking watch great movies. And Saving Private Ryan is one of those great movies and shit. It has a deep message that it'll constantly have you question it. That's the thing about the one thing Spielberg. Less is more, motherfucker. You don't need people to keep fucking talking and talking and talking. Take one from me, It speaks for itself.